Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. Hey, it is our League One preview day. And if you remember last year, it could last all night. I don't think we're going to do that this time. If you remember last time, though, it was Gio's flu game running a 103 fever. Since then, Gio has returned. He has been in the gym. He's been grinding. He's been out working for the Greenville Triumph, and we haven't seen him in a while. Gio, my man, how you doing?
Good. I'm actually running 100 point something fever today. I haven't been at work the past 2 days, so this is I missed the soccer game yesterday. So it looks like this is the time of the year that it just League One fever, I guess. That's what
part
we're
of the
gonna
brand.
call it. It's the part of the brand every year, baby. We're gonna do this for 10 years straight. Fever every year. No, but I'm good, man. I'm good. I've still been working from home, making some connections, getting to know people, trying to invite them out. Got some groups to come to the first Triumph game on the 25th against the Kickers. I'm excited. It's been a interesting and really fun past 3 months now with the Triumph. So I'm excited for the season and get going. It's going to be a lot different than the past 4 seasons, but it's exciting nonetheless.
Moving on to the person that, if you're watching this, is directly above me, our Lexington Luther himself, who has a pretty good interview that just came out. Tyler, how you doing, man?
What's up? Like, better now that I have a really cool nickname. I feel like this is good. That's how I can kind of like shift into my villain mode whenever we play One Knox. That'll just be kind of like the ego that I take with me. No, it's good. Like you said, I just got done doing an interview with Kalen Fox last week, so love for people to check that out. But otherwise, we're starting to really fire up. We had our media day today for the team. Things are getting pretty hot and heavy. Saturday we're going to play UK in our last preseason game, so everybody's pretty fired up for that, and I'm just ready to get the season going.
To the person to his left, someone who's returning to the show for, I think, the second time now, another one of the Greenville legends, and someone who puts in the major grind with some of the best graphics you'll see out there from USL League One Review. Brandon Mays.
Hey man, how's it going?
All right, man. How you been?
Gio included me in his brand as well. So yeah, I've been out for the past 2 days with a stomach bug with my entire family. So hopefully we're past it. But yeah, I don't like this brand that Gio has. It's not fun at all.
Man. Hey, look, League One fever is taking over.
It's taking over.
And from League One fever to the person that's going to tell you about it all, how about someone who's kind of new to the scene but is doing some of the best stuff in the scene, from League One updater, Alex Ashton. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How you been, man?
Doing all right. Yeah, keeping busy.
So for people, because you're the most unknown for the people who haven't talked to, who haven't heard from, I guess, or who has been watching the show. If people haven't been following your stuff, like, kind of what's your stick? What's your thing, man?
Well, I'm kind of a data nerd. So I look up to Brandon a lot there. And I like to I don't know, I just like to keep track of like the attendance and keep track of all the signings, and just I was doing it for my own records, and I was like, why not share it?
Absolutely. So with all those introductions out of the way, I'm going to step to behind the glass, if you will, and I'm going to let the fellas take over the show and let you guys dive in deep into the USL League One. I don't think this is going to be a marathon like last year, but you know what? We'll see. We'll see how the conversation goes, and I'll try my best to keep them on track. But who knows? Maybe I'll I'll probably enjoy the conversation just as much, but I will toss it over to them.
Awesome. What's up, y'all? So over the course of the show, we're going to be talking a lot about last season, kind of thinking about how things ended up, and then lead that into this season, maybe some expectations, what's going to go down with these teams. There's been a lot of changes. I know behind the scenes, we've talked about a lot of teams that we think are going to make some moves that are going to be pretty surprising. Obviously on a lot of people's radars here lately, thinking like North Carolina. No spoilers, sorry, but that's definitely one that's got everybody's interest. So, all right, guys, let's talk a little bit about where we left off.
Yeah, I mean, so last season we ended it all with Tormenta taking home the trophy on a fantastic, beautiful win. With of course, it had to be Jameel Roberts getting the game-winning goal to win the title, right? Like it has to be the former title winner himself scoring the goal in the final few minutes to get the win. So, that's where we kind of ended last season, the whole season being chaotic and, ending in a final that didn't involve, I think, am I correct to say the top two teams? Chattanooga they were sixth, right?
Right. Yeah.
Brilliant. So it didn't even involve the top two teams in the league. Like, just the one of the weirdest seasons, most competitive seasons. So, that's where we ended it all with, of course, Bolt taking it home. But like I was saying last season, and I'll let y'all talk about it more. But the chaos of League One was bigger than ever last season. And I think it'll be even bigger this year. That's right.
I know. Like, I was pretty new to the league last year, like with the announcement of Lexington, and I could not believe how exciting the season ended up. I mean, it was blowing my mind how tight that race was, almost to the finish line. Just constantly looking at everybody shifting back and forth, and you never quite knew who was going to make that through. Like several teams vying for that last sixth spot, trying to make it through. And I thought that was exciting. It was a nice refresher from, doing things like watching the Premier League, where every year as an Everton fan, I have to watch like Liverpool run away with it, or then we see like Man City come through again. So it was nice stuff to see that progression and that chaos going through.
Yeah, there at the end to see Richmond actually did kind of, I guess, in the last week or two ran away with it, and then to go into the playoffs with a bye. And then have Chattanooga come in and Rafa end it all near the end of the game, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was probably the most exciting season. Like even the 2020, the excitement of everybody coming back and playing again, and 21 was fun, but last season was so competitive. I loved watching. I don't think I watched as much soccer last season than I have ever, because I've watched every team play. I've watched several teams constantly, just out of the joy of it was good competitive games. So it was a lot of fun. I really have missed it, and I'm excited we're going to get some more with some new teams this season.
Yeah, last year was the first year I bought season tickets to any sport ever, and that was for at Richmond. Yeah,
and I just love the drama of the final too, because taking a step back, I was thinking about it, and it was almost like a hero villain arc, meeting at the end, because I don't know, some people probably are familiar with this. Hopefully, Chattanooga struggles last year as far as kind of the reputation and just the perception from the public, and then you have Tormenta, who was kind of an underdog, and then you just see them slowly climbing that ladder, and then they meet at the end and then duke it out. I just thought that was one of the most perfect endings you could ask for a season. And then obviously Tormenta opening their new stadium and finishing things off there. It was something you would have scripted in a movie.
Yeah, both teams opened up new stadiums in the middle of last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chattanooga overcoming their coaching issues, and they were full of talent, but overcoming that and making it to the final was just crazy to see.
Yeah, the upheaval of obviously he was an assistant coach, but Twitter likes are forever. Amen. Screenshot
In public.
Yes, and public, very public.
Yeah,
No,
all the
we're not.
coaches in USL League One.
Just an FYI. Yeah, I mean, because just the upheaval of having to go through different coaches, even if he is an assistant, like having to go through different ideas and the uncertainty of, are they going to bring somebody in? All the chaos going on around of, players not being happy with not getting enough playing time, et cetera, et cetera. It would have been really easy for that team to fall apart. And they, like you said, they were full of talent, and just it's insane to see where some of these players are ending up and kind of what they're going to continue to do this year. But they, to get there at the end and kind of grind out even an appearance was nothing short of incredible. Same thing for Tormenta. I mean, to come back and get into that home game against Chattanooga after what looked like could have been just a final day falling out of the playoffs. To winning the title. It's insane.
I don't know if it's too early to bring this up, but Tormenta has kept a good portion of their lineup, of their roster from last year, while Chattanooga has gone through a huge rebuild. Last count, Chattanooga has lost basically 38 goals from their 52 goals from last year.
Wow. Yeah. That's going to be tough to replace, especially thinking of a new system with a coach. Mm-hmm. But that's a good segue, though. That's a good segue. I don't know. What do you guys say that we get into like some of these teams and expectations? I think we're naturally moving that way anyhow. So we were talking about highlighting the two newest teams to the league. Sorry, I just realized you guys can see my my gecko Band-Aid that I have. Sorry, I had to steal a Band-Aid from my son, cut my finger. So those of you guys that can't see this because you're listening in, yeah, it's kids Band-Aid. But anyway, we're going to talk about our two newest teams, and then we're going to get into a little bit more in-depth information about some of the other ones. So let's maybe start out with One Knox. What are some of the expectations? What are we thinking about One Knox? What's going to go down with them this year?
I mean, I think there's an expectation from a lot of people that they're going to make the playoffs in their first season based on what you see on paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that I have a question with. Now, obviously, being a Lexington fan, I have particular feelings about One Knox, but I'll even admit on paper they're impressive, and it looks like a team that could really fire on all cylinders this year. And especially thinking about retention of the coaching staff and the same style, some of the same players. What's that going to do for them?
I think that's going to be the key, right? Like even their right back is coached with McKeever at Young Harris. I mean, the continuity that he's bringing into League One is incredible. And the thing is, outside of some early years at Young Harris, he's a proven winner. Mark McKeever has gotten to finals. He's won finals in multiple. He's coached in multiple places across League Two. And so while this is a big step up, I think this will be a fantastic way to get his feet wet as a coach who has done nothing but win in the past few years with some really talented players, the same really talented coaching staff for the most part, and some new additions who are just absolutely incredible. For me, it'll be really interesting to see Mark McKeever, kind of test his mettle against some of the coaches in this league coming in for the first time as a professional coach.
Yeah,
speaking of some of that new. Sorry, go ahead, Alex. Go.
I was say one player that a lot of the One Knox fans have been hyping up, a Young Harris alumnus, Seba Andrasen, had 7 or 8 goals last year in USL 2. Their leading goal scorer, captain, I think. They've been hyping him up as a potential Young Player of the Year candidate.
He's fantastic. I watched him at University of Central Arkansas last year a lot, and just he can do absolutely everything with absolutely nothing. It's just he's an incredible player. I don't know how much game time he'll get. Just young players in a new league. Just because he's trusted, he might get more. But I think he's fantastic, and he's going to be a big portion of what they do for sure.
And like
Yeah,
Brandon, I know you did a deep dive into One Knox not long ago on Twitch. Like their general style and what they're bringing in with McKeever, is that going to be something that kind of fits in with what League One is already looking like and a lot of the other teams are doing, or is that going to be something that's a little bit of a mold breaker and causing people to adjust?
I mean, if you were going to compare them to another team, I think Mark McKeever kind of has his own style, but I think they probably look closest to Forward Madison with some more passes into the box, though, like actually getting shots off. And they do play a very possessive back three. You know, you can see the defenders he brought in. They're very good with the ball. They're able to carry the ball well, as well as just some versatile wing backs and really good 10s. And so I think we'll see something pretty similar to kind of what we're seeing with what we saw with Forward Madison last year, but it actually working. And so, yeah, it can be easy to North Carolina Fusion showed that it in the playoffs that it can be easy to kind of delay or prevent them from progressing the ball well. But I really think that it's going to be really tough to keep these guys from scoring. I think the key will be, though, is, and I mentioned this before, it's just the ability to make changes if needed. McKeever's played the same formation across, I think, 4 different teams now, and so coming into a new league, is he going to keep the same? Is he going to continue doing the same thing and try and make that happen, or is he going to do something different? That'll be what I'm really interested to see, because from what I can see, even bringing back Jordan Skelton, who's been with him every step of the way, and it seems to be business as usual. So I'm really, really interested to see how that plays out at this level.
I can't help but notice you had like a weird moment where I felt like Gio possessed you with that Forward Madison comment. It was like he was puppeteering you with like throwing some shade.
I would never.
I had to like double check. I was like, wait a second.
I would never.
Is that Brandon or Gio?
I love Forward Madison.
No, not specifically for Forward Madison. It was just like the subtle shade that
we've been hanging out
it was like I know I was gonna say all that training for the FIFA tournaments and stuff.
It's that Greenville bite.
Yeah.
What we're known for right here in the South. Yeah.
Got that synergy. So, any other thoughts on One Knox before we move?
I was looking at their strikers earlier. All their forwards are dangerous. Bowinkle, I know Brandon has been high on him, and finally gets to play in League One. Jake Keegan's going to be there. He had an off season with Greenville. I love him, but he's a good addition. He's going to run all day, put pressure all day. Illich, is that how you pronounce his name? That was like one of the first signings that they had. He's a big
out of Lou City, right?
Yeah. But they have so many attackers that I think could be really dangerous. It's going to be really hard for them to choose who's going to be starting, and for other teams to be able to stop any group of them together. I think it's going to be exciting to see, and I wouldn't want to play them the first game. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll take our chances. Okay.
Yeah. It's perfect segue for you.
If it goes right, then it's going to be the rightest thing there is, right? Yeah, that is a great segue. So I guess let's move into Lexington, who's going to win their first ever home or just inaugural match. We're going to win all matches, home or otherwise. So
the
Lexington,
San Antonio FC is anti-Greenville but pro-Geo, like just the club itself.
Listen, I'm pretty.
What the heck? San Antonio FC, you heard it here first.
They love their Geo. I think they have a Geo autograph even.
You're the one redeeming spot for the whole club.
I'll take all the wins I can get.
Right. Man, so obviously Lexington's right up my alley. There's a lot of question marks for the team, though. A ton. Thinking about approaches, we've taken a very interesting approach of signing a lot of lesser known players that are just making their debut into League One. Obviously, we have some veterans like Charlie Matchell. We've got Kalen Fox. We've got Don Smart, Nico Brown. But we've got some newbies in here too. So I don't know what realistic expectations can we see out of Lexington.
I mean, I'm still on a wait and see.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I kind of see like North Carolina has this very young squad that has not done so hot, and then suddenly added a bunch of talent, and maybe it's about developing this young talent right now with the veterans like Don Smart, and then building something for maybe like next year or the year after.
Yeah, I don't disagree based on what I'm seeing. I mean, I truly do believe that the team has this mentality of we're going to leave it all on the line. We're going to do as much as we can, work as hard as we can to get as far as we can. But you can see the team is playing like the long game. It seems like it's very much like trying to build something that's going to have longevity instead of like a just go all in, win this year, and then whatever happens next year is next year's problem. Which you can see with other teams, right? It's something that you feel with a few other teams in the league, whereas Lexington, it's almost like they want that longevity and that buildup, especially thinking about signing youth players. That's always been the MO for the team from the beginning. That's a message they've perpetually pitched to everybody, is this idea of get youth in, get them trained up and into the systems that you want to see, and then move them up the line, and hopefully they'll be a talent that you can really rely on. I mean, we've already got Diallo Yurikoze, who's the first academy product, technically, out of the system so far. But we got a lot of other youth. We got Kimball Jackson in there. We've got Pierre Mane. So a lot of young players that have a lot of potential, and I feel like have pretty high ceilings. But I mean, I'd agree, even as a fan who really invest a lot of time in the team, I have a lot of question marks myself as far as what's going to actually happen whenever the season goes down.
I will say the thing I really like about how Lexington has built this is, like you mentioned North Carolina. One of the struggles with North Carolina was, they're coming into this league right during COVID. They have a ton of young players, and basically the only experienced players they have is Nazmi, Al-Badawi, who left halfway through the season, a guy from the Pittsburgh Hotspurs who had never played a professional season the year before he started at North Carolina, and then Pekka, and that's, I mean, there were a couple of older players, but that's pretty much it. That was their experience, and they brought in some other players and things like that. But as far as leadership goes, even last year, like their captain had played one professional season, and that wasn't the year that he was a captain. That was with Tormenta, and then he went back to USL2. And so the really cool thing I like about how Lexington is going about this is there are some really solid locker room guys like Don Smart and like Kalen Fox, who have experience on the field in League One over a long period of time, who can kind of mentor and kind of keep things together. That was, and I think I spoke to John Bradford about this, and that's something that this year at North Carolina, they're seeing a lot of. You think about Navarro and people like that, and I mean, half of Chattanooga being there in North Carolina, who have all of that experience, who've been through the grind of even playoff games. Having people like that is so important, and the fact that Lexington is putting their money where their mouth is and really investing in youth, but also being really intentional about bringing in people who have experience and who can not just have experience and sit on the sidelines, but have experience and really do a job for the team. I think that's going to be really big to the season when moments get tough. Having people like Don and Kalen and Nico and so on and so forth is going to be big. And as far as the other players go, I mean, yeah, they're wild cards, but they've all been, for the most part, been professionals. Like that's going to be the thing. It's it's that same old NISA versus USL argument that we're really going to get a front row seat to with Lexington this year. Not who's better, but just kind of where the leagues stand. And so I'm really excited to see where that puts Lexington, because it seems like they've brought in some interesting players.
There's a lot of NISA names on that list.
Yeah, but I think right here is the right way to build a club. I think Lexington's going in the right direction. They're not going all youth like NCFC did. We know how that went for them, and things this year are looking different, maybe. But Lexington, I think they have a really good mix, and I love the fact that they want to get some youth, and what they've been doing with the youth programs in Lexington is massive. Working with them and have some local players, but then also bringing some people that are good people, not it doesn't. They're not looking for just the most talented, cocky, whatever. It looks like Stock has really done his research and met with these guys to see if they're all in. I think that's what you need, especially for our first season. You're gonna have some young guys on the team. You guys are working to get a new stadium. It's a lot all at once that a lot of teams have been 4 years or years in USL Championship to do in the past. And so this is brand new for everybody involved in the club, when from top to bottom. And so even talking about Knoxville, they've at least been playing League Two. Lexington is really coming in fresh, and it's exciting to see. I think they have a good base of people. They have people that are excited. They have I think with the stadium and everything, they're working hard to do stuff for the community and really try to compete. And it might not be as great as maybe they want year one, but it's not going to be like, as bad as other teams in the past have done. I think they're going to compete day in, day out, and they're going to be one of those teams that are fighting at the end, last game of the season, just like everybody else was. And that'll be fun to see.
Man, I agree. And like you said, sorry, Alex, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, you make it through this year and you got a new stadium coming up next year. So, I mean, that'll be huge.
Yeah. And I mean, like Gio pointed out too, like Stocks' whole message about the methodology of things, that's never changed. Like I've interviewed him, Walking 90s interviewed him. He just did an interview with League One or One League Under the Sea. And every single interview, he repeats the same ideology, that it's all about, he uses the eye test, and he also looks for players that have the right mindset and the right attitude and are committed to the team. And I think that goes a long way, because you can have players that have all the talent in the world, but if they aren't committed to the team, it's not going to produce much for you as a team in a team game. And so I think that we got a pretty fair shot of doing solid this year. I mean, it's going to be a tough battle going in as a completely fresh, untested team aside from preseason, right? But I think that we can surprise a lot of people moving into this. Indeed. So let's you guys feel like you're ready to move into a couple of our other teams that we're looking to highlight that aren't so new to the team but maybe going to surprise people?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think so.
All right, cool. So who we got up first?
Why don't we talk about Northern Colorado first? I think that we wanted to talk about them tonight. We obviously, there are 12 teams. We're not going to be able to talk through every single one of them in detail, but Northern Colorado is one of those that, for a lot of reasons, not the Chattanooga reasons, struggled off the field. There were some, there was a little bit of bad press there. They traveled from stadium to stadium across Colorado for most of the season. And it showed. I mean, they really struggled to get consistency. I mean, a ton of injuries at the beginning of the season too, to kind of not help matters. I remember, I think it was the first away trip to Greenville, where they barely were able to they had so many people out, they were barely able to field the team because they just had so many injuries. And so there was a lot of chaos happening with this team, and they really finished strong. And I think this year they're going to bring in some new talent. They've already brought in some new talent that's going to be crazy. Somebody earlier, I think it was Nick Rosser, said Billy King, remember the name. That guy is like pride and joy of the League of Ireland. And he fits, not only fits, that really fast style that Northern Colorado like to play. He's just a really solid transition attacking player. And so I'm really excited to see him kind of get on the field and be a part of that lightning quick attack, and a lot of assists from Arthur Rogers across the field, far post crosses that Billy King meets. And so, yeah, I mean, I wrote this in some of my notes, but they really remind me of kind of the early chaotic, not so polished Liverpool that was really good at pressing the ball. They didn't really do a very good job of keeping it, but they were strong. They attacked quick and they got to the goal quick, and so that's what I kind of expect again. And I think they could do even better than last year. I mean, they didn't quite make the playoffs, but I think last year I picked them, I think, second, and I think I would pick them pretty high again this year. I haven't learned my lesson, but we'll talk about more about that in a little bit. I don't ever learn my lesson, I don't think. So,
well, they weren't too far out of the playoffs last year. They had a shot. Like they could have made it in. They were one of those like finish line teams that were just like right on the cusp there, even with all the challenges they face. That was impressive that they held on that long like they did. And I mean, just looking at their preseason, their last two preseason matches, like say what you will about the competition, but 2 8-0 wins, and like what was it, like a hat trick for Rendon in one of them, and then a hat trick for Rogers in another, and then the other like half of the goals seemed like they all came from trialists. So it's like I don't know, this team, who knows, maybe it could be scary this year.
Yeah, they got some good trialists waiting in the wings.
And
I think if they can weather their extended away trip and the beginning of the season, and if Billy King fits into that system, that's their ticket to the playoffs for sure.
I agree. I think they're an exciting team, and I wrote last year, I missed one of the home games against Greenville, and they beat Greenville, I think 2-0, 3-0, something like that. And I remember watching with my friend who doesn't watch many USL League One games, and he thought Colorado was probably first place, not who I think we were at the time. And just watching it from somebody's point of view, like the way they were playing is just constant pressure, and they were playing very well, took their chances, and we were flat against them. And we're Greenville, we were known to be winners, and then they're taking it to us. And I think if they can weather the storm, no pun intended, if they can weather that storm that they're going to have of all those away games and go into late in the season and get into the stadium and find a home and get some consistency going, they're going to be a good team, especially with somebody like Billy King and Rogers. I think he's going to be another just massive player in the league.
Yeah, Irvin Parra's back too, right? Is he been playing in preseason? Anyone know?
Well, yeah, I don't know if he's been playing.
I think he's been out. Yeah, I think he's been out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is there, but
there's personal issues going on, but hopefully he can come back.
He should be back though.
He seems like he's in good hopes that he'll be able to still continue doing what he loves. Is one thing I thought he said. But yeah, I saw Lachlan's gone, so the Instagram is going to be lacking. That's for sure. Yeah,
social media power rankings have them at like 12 now.
Yeah, I don't think Northern Colorado is as exciting without him now. But
someone asked
good.
Yeah, someone asked a good question. Who's going to be the number 2 keeper between Johan and who's Delgado from Phoenix Rising?
Yeah. I mean,
good question. That's going to be a good.
It's going to be a really solid battle. I mean, Peñaranda obviously is a talented goalkeeper and won his spot last season. But the key is, can you keep it against a former Phoenix Rising goalkeeper? I think he'll start the season with it. I think Peñaranda will be the number 1 to start the season. But we'll see. I think it's a really solid. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have whenever you have to battle that out to figure out which goalkeeper you want because they are good, as opposed to not be good. So it's not a bad issue to have for a team, though. So, you guys ready to pivot to our other big one that we're going to focus on? Okay, this team, I think that we all are on the same page that they're going to turn things around. Now, at what level, that remains to be seen. But North Carolina FC, they seem to be trending up, at least on paper and based on the moves, all gas, no brakes, apparently. So what are we thinking about this season for North Carolina versus the dud that was last season?
I'm ready to be hurt again. Ready to be hurt again.
He loves the pain.
You picked him last year, right?
What?
Did you pick him
I
last
didn't
year?
pick him to win last year, but I was really high on what they did. And in fairness, I think that I was justified in that for a little while. They definitely, that Greenville game, they fell apart after that. And, no, I'm ready. I'm ready to be hurt again. As long as it's not against Greenville, you can lose the Greenville again and, ruin your season if you want. But no, I'm definitely I'm high on them still. But I'll let y'all go first.
I mean, like I said, all gas, no brakes. It seems like they've just packed the attack with this team. I mean, just today they added to the defense, and I know you had commented on that on social media, Brandon. But I mean, midfield, forwards, everybody's got that attacking mindset, and they have the ability to do it. Names that we saw repetitively last season, just over and over and over again, having an impact in some way or another in getting goals in the back of the net. And I know last year they struggled immensely as far as giving up goals, especially when we talk about goalkeeping. But I guess, does that really matter if you're constantly scoring on your opponent? If you score like 10 goals a game, then I guess what's the diff?
That's USL 1.
Yeah.
I just want to throw it out there that Nick Holiday is still there, and he's still a stud.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hype behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Well, and that's the thing. He's the epitome of the youth project there. Obviously, Britton Fisher was too, off to Minnesota now, but both players are the epitome of what kind of they're trying to accomplish through their youth team. And his ability to start these games and play in these games, and not just do that, but have the mentality to come back from those bad moments, like the one at Omaha or whatever, other some previous bad moments. Be mature enough to take that on the chin and come back and play another game. That's huge. And obviously, he's always getting looks elsewhere. Every off season, he's traveling across Europe, trialing with teams, waiting for his 18th birthday. But it's another season, for another chance for him to really, really show himself as the keeper he can be. And obviously, there's Tor Saunders there to kind of help things as well, who will probably be the starter, I imagine, with him still being in high school and whatnot, with Nick still being in high school and having homework and things like that. I'm really, really excited to see not only how the youth project goes, but how how they adapt to this new found kind of just plethora of attack that they have. I mean, even then, all gas, no brakes. Like, you've got freaking Luke Kroll from Chesterfield. You've got David Garcia, who probably the last 2 seasons, just because of his mentality, could have been a starter and might have been captain. And luckily he doesn't have to be that. You've got Navarro.
Yeah.
You've got a literal international team capped left back. The defense is stacked too. It's crazy how this team has improved and kind of the stuff they're putting together.
Yeah, it was almost like they it was like surgical precision, the way they attacked their weaknesses in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he usually had the best off season.
Yeah.
I think this season's a little different. They got some players that have been good in League One in the past, so they know the league, they have experience, and then a lot of their players that they've been bringing up, they have experience now, and they've done tired of losing, I guess, because they're ready to act. Like last year, they were competing for a good bit. And I remember they were first in the table, and oh man, Brandon was right, and then he was wrong. But then, but then I think that had to do a lot with their youth, and they couldn't be consistent going forward. And now they have some leaders on the team, some guys that have played in a final last year, some guys that know how to win. Uh, and it's going to be massive for them. And Bradford is a great coach, and I think he can get the best out of some of these guys. So it's no surprise that they're good now. I knew it was only going to be a matter of time. Brandon thought it was going to be last year, and a lot of people did. But I think this year will be very different, and I'd be very surprised if it's not. That'll just show the growth of the league, that you can make all this big signings, and the league is just growing, the talent that people are bringing in, and but I think they're going to be extremely competitive.
And also after they they made all these big moves, then they just we got Luis Perez.
Yeah,
No big deal.
right. It's like
We won the
whatever.
Luis Perez lottery.
One of the most productive players in the league. We're just going to casually drop that. Yeah, no big deal.
Right. It feels like they're all in for the season. It feels like it's one of those seasons where it's just like, this is going to be the season that we take care of business, and we've proven it by getting the pieces in place. And so it's hard not to imagine them being very successful. I mean, what the floor is playoffs. Like, I kind of feel like I just don't see them missing out unless we get one of those things where we're duped, like League One likes to do, where you look at a team before the season, you're like, it's a lock, and then they shock you. But I don't know. I feel like that's their floor, bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
All right, so I feel like we got our piece on the four big teams. We're moving into next year.
Let's just get Greenville out of the way here. Me and Brandon here. We'll do a quick run through some of these teams. Greenville, I'm excited about Devin Boyce. He's a big signing. He had a rough season at Memphis. I know some of my Owl friends are sad that he's come to Greenville, but they're also happy for him because he's a good guy. I got to meet him recently in the office, and he's a really cool guy, good kid. And what I keep hearing is he's all gas, no brakes. He just run. And I love that. He's going to work hard. I think he's getting along well with the team. And I think along with that, having Tevin Shaw, he's a massive player that we're going to have in the midfield. I think he might be, up for one of the team MVPs if he can stay healthy, no red cards, and just, no other issues. I think he's going to be a massive piece of the puzzle in the midfield to give other players more freedom. Somebody like Aaron Walker and Noah Pilato, they can be a little bit more offensive. As before, they had a track back. They had Don and Aaron, and they're not naturally defensive midfielders. They like to get up there and take shots. But then, if they're not playing defense, we're just relying on our back line. So I think Tevin will be there to break a lot of things up and distribute to our other midfielders who are also very talented. So I'm excited for them. I'm also excited for a try list that we have.
Try list number 3.
Try list number 3. I know who the try lists are, but I'm excited about one specifically. Just say what they can bring to the team. We also have Hassan Gabo, he's coming from Somalia. He came from Omar Mohammed and Amdi Mohammed's academy. He's their first academy player. I cannot leak it.
Do it.
I feel like I'm in a Marvel movie. I can't. I'm not going to be Tom Holland today. But Hassan, his story is really inspiring. Coming from Somalia and having the loss of a parent, and it's really impactful. And hearing about how he had become a first-time pro. So I'm excited to see what he brings. He played for the U20 Somalia team in the Arab Cup recently. And so it's exciting to have somebody with international experience along somebody like Vinton Evans, who's played with Jamaica before. And we have some core people back. So, I think we haven't made the most sexy signings like North Carolina did, but we have some key players that came back and some new ones that can fill in some holes. And we just got to make it work. We already got through our annual Loose Atlanta United 2 out of the way. And we go from there and, business as usual.
Amen. No,
Yeah.
that Tevin Shaw signing had me in tears. It was beautiful, so beautiful. I can't
Yeah,
believe.
I know you were high on that.
Oh, proper player, a
Uh-huh.
proper defensive midfielder. We signed him just because of that Tormenta game last year. That's the only reason. It was just that
Yeah.
they what we had 5-5 Tormenta. They said we can never have 5 dropped on us again. We got to get a real defensive.
I think we would have beat them in overtime if we had Tevin, but that's neither here nor there.
We will never get 5 dropped on us again. Anywho,
Never.
So
That's a good segue into Tormenta, though. I don't know. Like, what are we thinking about this year? Because they've not made a huge number of changes, but they still got like people like Keziah Sterling in the wings, and I don't know. Like, I feel like there are teams that have just completely revamped. You have Tormenta that's just kind of like riding the wave, which necessarily isn't a bad wave. I mean, it worked for them last season for having their core. What are we thinking this year?
I see Tormenta contending with NCFC 1-2
Mm-hmm.
for sure. They did not. They did sell off a few.
Mm-hmm.
They sold Cabral to Miami FC.
Right.
Joshua Phelps to Melbourne Knights. Lost Curtis Thorne. So I mean, Adrian Billhart, that's a big one. Went to Detroit FC, Detroit City. But for the most part, they've kept a solid core. That was a good team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that Sterling could. He'll also compete for the Golden Boot, no doubt.
yeah, no doubt. That's probably the toughest race right there is that Golden Boot race because Keziah Sterling's going to be in it. You know that your friend from Richmond is going to be in it just because Terzaghi is always in it, like it's inevitable. I think this is going to be one of the most exciting Golden Boot races yet, and we had an exciting one last season. So it's going to be crazy to see what Keziah does this year. The thing is, Kaler in the private. Never mind. I'm not going to say. I'll leave that one be.
Yeah. Don't
Just
don't
delete
poke
it.
that
Just
beehive.
John.
Yeah.
Just
we don't need that anymore. Don't need anything.
No. Yeah, we'll be on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, great debut. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that we're going to see a really talented attacking Tormenta team. I watched them play a couple of their preseason games, and they looked looked pretty similar to last season in terms of their shape and their attack. And they really didn't need to upgrade too much on people like the Minnesota Messi and Keziah Sterling. So and then you're bringing Preston Kilween in the back. Your only real loss right now is at right back, and then they've already kind of covered that up. Losing Owen Green and Curtis Thorne, but it's tough to say that they're going to be. And I guess Jamil Roberts obviously moving on as well, but even then he was a bit of a super sub. It's tough to say that they're going to be any worse off than they were last year. The question is, can they be more consistent? With a lot of their players coming into their second season really gelling because they won the title, but it wasn't because they were in first or second place the entire year. You know what I mean? And so that's where you're talking about that first and second. I could see them being second for sure. If they can stay consistent, and obviously you've got 2 really big dudes locking down the back, and hopefully just some more defensive stability this year, and with Toby. Being hopefully there for the whole season this time instead of just half of it. That'll be a big thing as well.
And then also maybe like reworking that new home magic instead of being road warriors all year. Like last year, they were killing it on the road. Like you faced them at a home match, like them coming to your home. It was pretty much a lock. Tormenta was going to beat you, but then you go to their home, obviously the opposite. So I don't know. Maybe winning that trophy will switch their fortunes with that new home, and then maybe they'll be able to take care of business there as well.
I've mentioned this a few times now, but maybe them not being good at home is to be nice to the neighbors, because imagine the 85-year-old lady that lives down the road who thinks there's a tornado every 3 minutes.
Keeping everybody's peace.
Yep.
No, they're going to
Love
be
it.
exciting. Cassini there also, which is a good signing for them.
Yeah.
And you forgot about him, and they might get the best out of him than Forward Madison couldn't. And so now he has Sterling there to score some goals
There it
for
is.
him. Yeah, it's just true. It's
Yeah.
just true.
Yeah, you're right.
They can get the most out of him, and they have Bolt, and then, and that's already a big win for them. He didn't pay me to say that. No, but I see
Just
another
threatened you,
good
right?
season. He's right behind me. I see another
Blink
good
twice if you're in
season.
trouble.
Yeah. And then another easy win against the Birmingham Legion coming too in the Open Cup. So
We're playing the sad boys. We're
round 2, baby. I had to throw that in there. That was a fun one last year.
Yeah.
A couple of I wanted to I see we're at 50 minutes, so I want to keep us moving here, but I wanted to think about a couple of the teams with new coaches, like Omaha
Yeah.
specifically. It's going to be really interesting to see them see kind of how they set up. Obviously, we have very little clue. I mean, if you look at the defensive signings they've made, I can tell you right off the bat that they're probably going to play a back three. Every single center back they've signed has played in a back two or a back three at some point, and they just don't have the fullbacks unless they're going to do the same thing they tried to do last year, which was miserable. If your fullback gets hurt, then you have to sign a winger and play your winger in the right back spot for the rest of the season. Kind of deal with Dion Akoff, but I really think we're probably going to see a back three from Omaha this year, which would be interesting.
It'd be very different.
Yeah, it would be very different to what they've done in the past, probably just based off of what we're hearing. But I'm excited to see what they've got going on. Obviously, as far as center backs go, I think Luka is like the cream of the USL League One crop for like ball playing center backs. And so I think that's going to be a really, really exciting thing to see. And obviously they've still kept a lot of their most productive players. And then people like Shaft Brewer as well, who's going to be, I think, really impactful out there on the wing back in that wing back role. So it should be really interesting to see how they perform. Are there any players that y'all have seen from Omaha that kind of catch your eye that make you feel like they're going to perform well? Or do you think are y'all high on Omaha at all? Let's get the other fan base that gets mad easily.
I am high on Omaha this year because what was their biggest problem last year is they weren't scoring goals, and they brought in Steven Dos Santos, which I think that's going to be huge for them to to actually have a positive goal differential moving into and move into the playoffs.
For sure.
That's somebody that was on my radar.
That's a big signing.
Yeah. So are you
with
willing
no
to say
Misa as well? With them together, like I think that's gonna put them at the next the next level.
Yeah,
he's returning. He was their highest scorer last year, I think, with 7.
Yeah, barely, just above JP Skiers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think with Dos Santos is gonna take their scoring to the next level for sure.
So we thinking that Gio's gonna have to retire Dramaha. It's gonna go away this year.
Oh, I'm not. I'm keeping it in my draft just in case because there's just so many unknowns. The coach coming in from El Paso. Who knows what's gonna happen? Yeah.
Oh, for real.
Dame Mims, I don't know what he's doing, and I hope he's happy whatever he's doing. But there's just so many unknowns. But I think it's exciting for them. I think their fans a lot of them are mixed of how to feel right now. But some of the signings are exciting, but who knows how this team is going to play? Because the coach, I know he was at El Paso. He was doing set piece practice and just helping with a lot of the offense. So this team might be very offensively, driven, and maybe they won't draw as much. Who knows?
Well, if all else fails, at least they have Forward Madison-esque kits now, so that can comfort the Knights to think about the nice feathered kits and
the nice feathers.
Yeah,
they can
hold
cry
that
into
tight.
some good fashion. just like I
Yeah,
did with Arsenal for all
exactly.
those years.
Yeah, and then make a new kit about it. So
Yeah.
it'll be okay for
Buy a
Madison
jersey to hold your
2.0.
tears. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might make
Uh,
that corn kit.
I still would love if they would do that. Just embrace
I
it.
wish they did. Please
Just
do.
put it out. Like, just fully embrace that chaos.
I live in York. Please do it.
Yes.
Please.
There you go. So what about Chattanooga? Brandon mentioned the two teams have new coaches. What's Chattanooga going to be looking like?
I mean, he's brought in half of San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, he personally recruited him, so I think that speaks positively on who he's brought in.
Yeah.
And they were solid last year. They
Yeah.
weren't a bad team in NISA last year, by any means. And so I think it'll be really, really interesting to see kind of what they put there on what they put on the field.
Yeah. But you lost Juan Galindres, but you still have like Mo Espinoza and a few others on the team that are still being retained. And so I feel like there's a lot there that could be productive. And then maybe that new coaching direction and that new focus will maybe, I don't know, carry him back into the playoffs and kind of reinvigorate things. But it's kind of hard to say because it's so new.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many unknowns there. They lost so many players, some of their best players from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And Galindres is gone. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play, what they do. The coach is some, coaching abroad and bringing in some players he's known. And so it's really hard to say. I'm excited to see what they bring, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be the shift for Chattanooga to go defensive. Like, I really like the defensive pieces that they brought in. The thing that worries me personally is that we've seen other teams in the USL try, or especially League One, try to go defensive and try to win on defense. And I know you can kind of say that Richmond and Tormenta did that, but they also had a confident attack to go along with that. I think their attack is a little toothless right now, but I think their backline's good enough. They may be this year's Union Omaha.
Mm.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. No, I do worry, even with their back line, I do worry, like, I don't see them even being able to hold people back enough, even with the people they've got, even though they are talented, incredibly talented. I just, it's kind of like North Carolina. You can have all the defense you want and put all the blocks in that you want, but if you're getting 500 shots on you, like, you can't compete. And that's my hope, is that we see, again, maybe we'll see NISA come through for Chattanooga and put some attacking threat on the field.
Goalkeeping is solid.
Yeah, goalkeeping is squared away.
That's probably the best tandem in the league.
Yeah, I just, with all the unknowns of the attack, you can't really say much, obviously.
Yeah.
But Eastridge, where they're actually at, let's not call them Chattanooga. Let's call them what they are. I'm going to get canceled by Chattanooga for this, by the way.
They already blocked you.
Yeah, not yet, surprisingly. But I don't know. I don't see it going as well.
I'm looking at their roster right now, and I'm seeing they signed Ropapa Mensah, who I don't know his backstory completely. He spent last year in Egypt injured, I think, but he scored 27 goals in championship prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone who might be due for a comeback in USL 1.
Yeah, change the scenery and fire it up.
A Nashville SC legend. That man is a Nashville SC legend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
let's Alex, maybe let's turn it over to you, man. You're our resident expert on Richmond. What are you thinking?
Well, we lost a lot of talent in the offseason. Jonathan Bolaños went to Huntsville. Ethan Bryant went to Kansas City 2. Stuart Ritchie went to Columbus 2. Stephen Payne signed with the Pink team on day one. So yeah, that's a big loss there. Carlton Belmar, though, we signed him. I saw him, went to the preseason game the other day. He scored a goal. Briefly spoke to some of the players that wanted an event on Sunday, and Dakota in particular got kind of a glimmer in his eye when I told him I was excited to see Carlton Belmar. He the players are excited, seems like. So that might fill in, playing him next to Emmy,
Yeah,
and reigning all of those goals that we had last year. We have Akira Fitzgerald in goal. He doesn't seem to age. He is looking. It looks like he is doing a lot more coaching some of the younger guys now. But he's still there. We also returned Matt Bentley, Neil Vigneault, and Wayne Gordon. They combined for 17 goals in 2022. So I don't know. I'm in like with a lot of the teams. I'm in a wait and see for Richmond. I'm not gonna say they're gonna go to the top of the table right away. But yeah, wait and see. I don't know. We'll have to see if they did enough to keep up with all the other major moves in the league.
That winger piece was always going to be the key, right? Like, I mean, Ethan Bryant, no offense, he's replaceable. He's a really talented young player, but now you've got another really talented young player. And the key was always replacing the most productive player in League One. That's the question mark. I'm really excited to see that Belmar signing, like you said. But
yeah, he was on the left wing the other day at the preseason game, and I believe we had Justin Sukal playing in Ethan's spot. But preseason against a college team,
you never know.
Just a preview,
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, wait and see. That's my feeling on Richmond as of right now.
Yeah. It's tough, especially with Bolaños leaving. It's just all that feeding into Terzaghi, and then that's all gone. So it's I don't know. You guys were crushing it goal wise in the season last year. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be a big repeat or if Terzaghi kind of loses that ground. But I mean, he's awesome. So I can't see him not being towards the top of that list because I mean he's just inevitable. 3 years running, crushing it.
Yeah.
So let's move to Ford Madison. What are our feelings on Ford Madison? It sounded like at the beginning of the offseason, they were making a lot of like moves, and everybody was like, "Ooh, ah," and then you start having other teams making their moves, and it kind of just seemed like they fell in the background. But where are they looking like? Where are they at?
I mean, that's a massive rebuild. They brought back 4 people.
I'm not ready to be hurt again on that one. Not at all.
I mean, they're rebuilding around Christian Chaney. It seems like in the front, of course.
Yeah,
they were. They had a negative 10 goal differential last year, so they need those goals, and he had 10 with Fuego. So
yeah,
there you go. They'll maybe get a 0.
Who's gonna pass? Who's gonna give him the assist for those goals?
That's Jaden Onan, and he could be hungry enough to be the guy to go to there. He's the young guy came over from England. He's played youth product at Arsenal, Brighton, Reading. Like he's been around in the in the youth leagues over there.
It could be. That's a lot of pressure to put on.
It is a lot of pressure.
It's just hard. The rebuild, having a rebuild like the way they did, is going to be interesting to see. They lost a lot of good players.
Well, and they're the team with the best defense right now, by far. Think about it.
It's just are they going to be able to score goals?
Yeah. I mean, they do seem to have made a lot of like low risk, like potentially high reward signings that could go either way.
Stephen Payne, I said it last year. I thought he was going to be newcomer of the year last year in the USL. Sterling might have stolen that spotlight a little bit, but I mean, he's going to be one of the more underrated signings from this year. I know the fullback position is not very sexy to most, I guess, casual fans, like a striker or midfield, but his ability to get up and down the pitch and put in a quality cross is going to be, I think that's going to be a big part of their game, especially coming from that, I guess, right-hand side.
Yeah, he definitely had an impact in Richmond. He was that's a notable loss. So that's a great gain for Forward Madison there.
Yeah, it's just tough because I feel like looking at some of the splashes the other teams have made, or like the floor to ceiling ratio, I just feel like Forward Madison has kind of gotten lost in the mix, and it's just hard. It's hard for me to see. I mean, every team is kind of a wait and see situation, but it's hard for me to see right off the bat where it's going to be such a positive gain that they're going to do miles ahead better than last season. I mean, it might not be as bad, but I don't know. It's one of those teams where I have a real tough time being like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to be playoff contenders, even with the field being 50-50.
I mean, if you're a Forward Madison fan, like I know they turn out that stadium, but like you have to be getting impatient.
Right. I mean, great attendance, but you got to perform.
Their defense is solid, regardless of what happens. Like you said, that's something they got going for them. But is that going to get them far enough?
Right. Same thing with Chattanooga. Is that going to take them?
Yeah.
What if Chaney gets injured?
Yep. Who's going to fill that spot? Who's going to be that producer?
They've got those young. They brought in a few young, low risk signings that could potentially. I mean, where did Keziah Sterling come from? Like out of nowhere last year?
Potter's Barn, yeah, 7th tier England. He was also, fun fact, didn't even start for them.
Francis Baptiste is, I think, is on a similar trajectory with Forward Madison. I'm just gonna toss that out there. That'll be my only hot take. I think he's on a similar trajectory. He's someone who has struggled with, just to find his place in the English system, but he's had that experience, and he could be someone who could come over here and just start raining goals like Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair. BJ, let's move to Charlotte Independence. We're making some splashes here lately on the attack, but also splashes in other ways that aren't necessarily as positive.
Well, we've already gone over we already discussed the negatives. We can move past it.
Yeah.
Oh,
come on.
Need some Financial Peace University. Call it Dave Ramsey. Not for me, but hey, I don't want any of that. But it sounds like Charlotte needs it.
So yeah, Dan Kelly.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Right.
Does he still have it? And I say yes. I'm just gonna say yes.
Yeah, and of course, I agree. The thing is I don't think there's that much, we talk about a difference between USLC and in League One. I don't think there's as big of a difference as it's made out to be. In some senses, there are some teams at the top who are, obviously a tier above, but for the most part, like your good League One teams are going to be right up there with some of your standard USLC teams. And I think, Kelly still probably has it. I mean, he's spent a season with Pittsburgh, obviously, not as prolific as the past, but still did quite the job. So
Kaylor's got something to say.
He's muted. I don't think
Kaylor, you muted.
Like classic Zoom from.
Love it here. I love it here.
Rookie.
Look, if Dane Kelly doesn't score goals, just blame Robert Lilly like everybody else. Robert Lilly broke him.
Bob.
No. That's a massive signing for them, though. They were good. They were exciting on the attack last year.
They didn't need any help. What the heck?
They didn't need it, and then
Corey Bennett and Trevor Bayou, they scored 11 goals each.
Yeah.
So that's going to be exciting to see. I feel like it'll be high flying. I saw them at the preseason game against Greenville, and they didn't have all their players that they full squad against us, and it was a good game, and it was back and forth a little bit, but they scored their one chance that they had, one clear chance that they had, took advantage of it, and held strong for the rest of the game. But I think they're going to be another exciting team this season, and I think they'll be competing again, just like they were competing last season. And it's really interesting as much as they have their issues. I think what might hurt them, they relied a lot, I feel like, on Charlotte FC players that came in and helped them. They won't have that now, so they really had to dig deep and figure out what they're going to do. So other players will have to step up. They can't just pull a player from Charlotte anymore. Do double duties like old school FC Dallas with Pepe in North Texas, bring Pepe. So they can't do that with Quinn McNeil and Zendejas and stuff like that. So they really got to figure some of that out. But I think they're going to be, well in the offense. They're going to be one of those teams that's just going to score goals.
If
Be
they
very
stay
dangerous.
healthy.
If that is a big if.
Yeah, they're getting. Yeah.
Well,
But-
and the thing is with that goalkeeper, the goalkeeper situation is going to be a big one, anyways. They're in those. I think it was it 7 games where they switched goalkeepers over and over and over again. Is it just 7 where they were without Zendejas and all the other keepers were injured?
Sounds right.
It was a back and forth, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was they conceded over half of their goals during that period for the season. Like Zendejas was a monster. Like, and I don't think he got enough credit for that. Like, he was an absolute monster. And because they got scored on, by Chattanooga 7 times, and Greenville 3 times, and other teams, so many times, that kind of got lost in the mix, even though it wasn't Zendejas that was there. It was the AG's game. Zendejas wasn't there. One of the best keepers in the league left, and that he held them. In my opinion, he carried them to the playoffs. He's the reason they were able to stick with it because Corey Bennett and Trezor Mbuyu are incredible, but without Zendejas, that defense was a mess.
Yeah, and just think what they could have been if he had been around for those games and how much higher up the standings they would have got into the playoffs instead of just squeaking in. It was one of those things where they were constantly having to fight for it versus they had him around. Who knows, might have had a higher standing, but I guess really that's neither here nor there, but your point still stands about the fact that he was really not credited for how much impact he had on that team.
Yeah.
So
and they've added Brad Dunwell and Joel Johnson in the defense, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. And they, it's the defense they gave up 48 goals last year. So
yeah, that's something you don't want happening again. Gotta stifle that stuff.
Yep.
So I think we're finally at our last team, right? Fuego, Central
Well, I
Valley
think it's
Fuego.
FC Tucson.
Fuego.
Oh, yeah, we
No,
can't forget Tucson. Yeah, we'll like
Our
table that
guy-
for when they come
We'll
back.
circle
John
back.
Perlman's birthday was yesterday. Shout out to John Perlman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Fuego, everybody forgets about Fuego because they're so far away.
Yeah.
They
I
never posted social
I don't want to forget about Fuego.
No.
I actually dove into Fuego today. They're going to
Yeah.
be the next one I'm going to write about on my site probably tomorrow. But they barely missed the playoffs last year, just like Hailstorm. They weren't that bad, but they lost Christian Cheney. Other than that, the lineup is largely the same. They added Jose Garcia from the captain from Chattanooga.
Yeah.
He's their biggest one. And other than that, Razak Cromwell hasn't played since 2020. He's the only other person they added. They apparently have a tendency of waiting to the last minute to finalize their roster, from what I hear. No?
I mean, Fuego, no.
No.
Remember, they're on Pacific time, so
Yeah, we got 3 more hours. Remember?
yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Funny
So
if you go on
I
the-
guess the question that I would have for everybody is who's going to score the goals between Villan Bijav and Sharif Dai or anybody else? Are they going to make it up?
Both of them are really tricky, especially Sharif. is just a really tricky player. I don't think I say that they didn't score. They make up. That's the thing. They weren't the highest scoring team in the league either, and I think having Garcia in the midfield will help shore things up a bit.
Yeah, he had 10 assists last year, including the one in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, a big thing for Fuego, I was looking at this earlier, just all of the teams, but Fuego is one of the few teams where when they're losing, a lot of teams, when you're losing, the other team's going to bunker and you're going to have more chances and you're going to create more than the other team just because they're maybe on the back foot a bit trying to protect what they've got. Fuego is one of the few where when they're losing, they're losing. They don't score more than the other team. They don't create more than the other team. It's like one of 3 teams in the entire league where they did not create more than the opposition team when they were losing already, which is just a bizarre thing to think about. Like it's basically like they gave up almost.
Yeah. And we saw that with like the fan base last year. There's a big thing going on with like the Fuego fan base where they felt like a lot of the players on the team weren't really presenting that fight to come back. So that just puts an exclamation point on your point about that idea that they just don't really fight back and through. That perception was shared by a lot of the fans based on what was shared towards the end of the season.
Yeah. That's my big thing. Is like, can the defense can they shore it up in the midfield? Can they protect things a little better? BJ's going to score. BJ's going to score. Sharif's going to get on the break and score. But can they hold it together? And can they and do they have a fight? And I think JCG is going to be huge in that regard and providing some fight and some bite to that midfield. He's obviously a super creative player, but he fits in so many roles, not just as a 10 or whatever. He can play as far back as the 6 and play as far up as the 10. So he's a really versatile player, and I think he'll be big for them. And I think from what I hear, he's part of the reason possibly that Chaney's not there. And I think it was worth it, to be honest. Losing Chaney is a huge loss, but having people in that midfield who can kind of keep things together is going to be really important. And having people who can create for someone like Chaney, having Chaney is great, but if you can't create for him, what's the point,
Yeah, absolutely. All else fails, they can always steal Tucson swag and hope for a bunch of like storm delays just to wear out East Coast teams and make them play until like 1 a.m. Eastern time and just hope that just does the trick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that moves us into a few of our predictions. We've talked a little bit about the teams and where we feel that they're going to land or just what to expect. But we got some predictions as far as some more specific stuff. And so let's start with the big one. Who we got for title winners? Who is going to win it all this time? Tormento was last time, so who's got it this time?
This is embarrassing, y'all. Like
Just
I'm
say it, Brandon.
I'm gonna say it. I'm ready to be heard again. I said it already. North Carolina, the North Carolina FC. That's who I'm picking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if they hurt me again, I'm gonna fall for it again. Hurt me once, shame on me. Hurt me twice, or hurt me once. How's it go again? Shame on me, right? I don't know. It's shame on me.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
It's just shame on me either way. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's shame for you no matter what.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna replace the article from last year over and over and over again with new players until they actually.
Yeah, just change the names of those players. Same article.
Yeah. Yes.
Change the names.
Yeah, I mean,
law of averages.
It's literally the same words, just with new names.
Yeah.
I'm calling
Gio, who you got?
I have North Carolina FC losing to Greenville.
There it is, the homer.
One of us had to do it.
Getting the second star. But
Let's
no,
talk about
North
season
Carolina.
tickets.
Yes.
I can give you Gio's phone number. You need to talk about season tickets.
Everybody
Speaking
buy
of-
your season tickets. I heard somebody say they don't get season tickets because they're too expensive in Colorado, but they're not that expensive in Greenville.
Yeah, I got mine for the
Right.
first time
Yeah.
in Greenville, thanks to Gio.
Yeah.
So
Help
But,
Gio out with his hustle.
Yeah, it's too expensive in Colorado, in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. But so come to Greenville. No, I think I have hope. I'm not gonna give up. We've been fighting every season. We're always in it. I think we'll push through with some of the new players we got. Some of the mistakes that hurt us that game against Tormenta and getting there. I think we fixed that with somebody like Tevin Shaw and Will. We're gonna play a good North Carolina team. It's gonna be a fun few games against them. So
my heart agrees with Gio. My
Yeah.
heart.
Heart. I like it. Alex, who you got? Who's winning it all?
I've been going with NCFC since day one of the off season, or since all the new signings. So I'm gonna stick with them for now. With Tormenta as the number 2. Both of them have just the lineups and the rosters are just too solid from top to bottom.
Yeah.
But this is USL 1, so who knows? But yeah,
If Bolt
NCFC.
is listening, I would like to just really quickly say this. I did write Tormenta repeat as like another option, just how I was feeling based on the show and the notes. Everyone can corroborate it. Leave me alone, please.
he
Sorry,
did.
It's
He
untrue.
did
I'm
put.
looking at it right now. He did not write that.
It looks like it's deleting while I'm watching it.
Yeah. He actually wrote, "Will fight Bolt."
He said North Carolina FC. Kind of just kidding. We'll fight Bolt.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah.
is.
It's all he put. Hey, I want to go Homer and say Lexington, but my brain
No.
obviously is thinking NCFC, like the rest of you guys. NCFC's stacked this
No,
year.
not like me.
And
Don't
then-
put me in the rest of you guys.
hey, you know
put
in
me in
your
the rest
heart
of
of
you guys.
hearts that there's a pretty solid chance. But I respect it, Gio. But no,
No.
with Brandon and Alex, I'm on board with it. I think that they've got a very solid chance. I think that they did all the right things to hopefully turn it around for their team and not have a repeat of last year. So got to go NCFC. There we go. Maybe only 75% of us will look silly. Gio might be right. He might be the one proving us wrong. And
I hope he's right.
I hope I'm right.
yeah. Yeah. Right. And then you can finally get like chip off your back about the whole like asterisk thing. You can be like, see, look,
Who?
it's a star. Chip. You can
Who?
just tell him. Oh yeah. All right. So moving off of that, who's going to be our top goal scorer? Who's got the golden boot this time? Brandon, let's start with you, man.
I said NCFC was going to win it, so I'd be remiss to not pick someone from NCFC. I think it's going to be Garrett McLaughlin this year. He had an incredible goal scoring ratio last year, and just in terms of shot quality, one of the best in the league. So he's grown a ton as a player, and I don't think we'll see kind of the increase from 21 to 22 this year like we did, but that's my pick. I think with just all the extra offensive creative weapons around him too, it's just going to be nuts. That being said, when you've got people around you like Shaq Adams and everybody else, it's kind of along that front line, Rafa and everybody, maybe he'll share a little bit more. And I think they won't rely on him as much maybe, but at the same time, that's who I'm going with. Garrett.
Alex, what you got?
I got Dane Kelly. I think he's going to come in and sweep in and dethrone Terzaghi. I want it to be Terzaghi, of course. I don't think it's going to be this year. Like 4 years in a row. Come on.
That's just insane if he pulls it off.
With Sterling, Terzaghi, and Corey Bennett and Garrett McLaughlin not far behind.
Gio.
I did want to say Jacob Leibovitz or trialist number 3, but I think it's gonna be Keziah Sterling. think he's going to have a solid second season. I am truly surprised he is playing at Tormenta this year.
We
I
all.
won't be surprised if he moves up to another league, or not even the championship, to something even higher, even after the season, after winning the Golden Boot.
Yeah, what are they doing over there to keep all these people? I mean, like the only people who are leaving are like basically lateral moves.
It's just crazy, like especially like if they have girlfriends. There's not even a Target over there.
Yeah,
So,
there's literally a Publix.
it's not even built yet.
They don't have the crumble cookie yet either.
Exactly.
But the
There's no reason to be there.
future promise,
So
unlimited.
yeah,
subs and
the
cookies.
owner said it's they've built a good culture, but he's also of the mindset like he wants you to move on eventually. So I could see him moving on after this year.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if not.
I would be shocked if he.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised he wasn't gone after this year.
I even thought when they announced him, it was going to be like another Villadere type of situation
Mm-hmm.
where, he's 2-year contract, part of the 2 years.
Totally is still back.
2 weeks later, thank you so much, Desire, for everything you did.
Yeah, he's totally not trialing with Toronto FC, even though his name is on the roster for a preseason game. He's totally with us.
There's no way.
Villadere.
No, he's going to get drafted in next season's MLS draft. That's what's going to happen.
There you go.
Ryan Giba 2.0.
Heard it here first. Nobody will know what happened.
He didn't even go to college.
Man, I agree with Gio. It's going to be Keziah Sterling. I think that he's just going to pull it off this year. And I wanted to go somebody off of NCFC, but like Brandon already mentioned, I feel like there's going to be a lot of sharing of the goal scoring. And that's the only reason that kind of I step back from choosing somebody on NCFC, as much as I think they're going to be prolific as a team as far as scoring goals. I feel like when we're talking Tormenta, Keziah Sterling's already shown that he is that guy. And I feel like he's going to stay that guy. And so when we're talking about single player goals, I think he's going to be the one that pulls all that off and keeps that production high. And especially with the promise of, us speculating about him moving on. I mean, he's going to want to earn that and continue to show like, hey, that wasn't just like a one-hit wonder situation. I can keep that going. So I feel it in my bones. It's going to be him.
Yeah, he's young enough.
Will Bainham.
He's young enough that he can be sold.
Yeah, for sure. For
like Terzaghi, is he going anywhere?
Yeah.
That man's retiring in Richmond.
Will Bainham winning the Golden Boot.
Okay,
I did that just for you, Gio.
Ironic.
I did that just for you.
That's an inside joke there, but a Golden Boot.
Look, he doesn't even need cleats to score, so it's a lock, man.
Oh boy.
All right, who we got for a top assist? Brandon?
Arthur Rogers. I'm just gonna go for it. I mean, with our friend Bolaños gone, you gotta have somebody to replace him. Yeah, it's gonna be Arthur. I feel like that's an easy one for me. But obviously, Gio agrees with me. But sorry, Gio. Let Gio go next. That's my fault. My bad.
Yeah, man.
I was
Gio,
going to
who's your
say
pick?
Alan Gavilanes, but no, and that's what I'm a homer here. I can't help, but I feel like Alan's going to have a great season and better than last season.
Mm-hmm.
But numbers wise, that you can see. But no, I think Rogers as well. He's a dangerous player, scoring hat tricks in preseason. We're talking assists here, but he's putting himself in those positions already. It's already showing what they're going to do in a way. It's going to be a lot of the same stuff, a lot of pressure. And so he's a good player, really good. I'll be surprised if he stays with them all as well.
Yeah. All right, Alex, what you got?
I'm going with Louis Perez, North Carolina. He's got options. He's good at assists. Like he's a mover. Yeah, Louis Perez.
That is the truth. Good at assists.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. That should be the little line here at the bottom. Just good at assists. Louis Perez.
Yeah.
They can just like stitch that on the inside of his collar of his kit. Good at assist. Now I chose the same. I think it's going to be Perez because now that he's in a system where there's so many attacking options, I can see him just feeding several people on that team and that production coming from his assists. So I had to go with him on my end too.
Yeah,
He's
that
got
man had nobody.
Gary McLaughlin, Rafa, like he's got options.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
He had nobody last year, and he still put up those crazy.
Yeah,
like
right.
jeez.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, so can imagine him in a system where he has just a plethora of options and just crushing it. There you go, Brandon. There's your there's your marquee.
That should be the title of
Perez,
the
good at
show.
assists. Yes.
That's marketing material for NCFC for the next year.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. They should pay you for it.
Hey, Alex, not me.
Yeah, pay Alex. Pay all of us. Pay all of us. Somebody.
I have a call. I have a call with some of them tomorrow, so I'll make sure to tell.
There you go.
Yeah. Name drop for us. All right, guys. So we went through all the teams, some pretty in depth, talked about who's going to make some influences. So let's close it out with some hot takes. Oh man,
Are they
geez.
doing Dan Kelly on net 30? You think they're gonna?
Oh my gosh.
You think he's gonna get it? Like he's gonna send an invoice?
He's probably smart though. He probably asked for it all in advance.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hopefully not in Dogecoin.
Too far. I'm sorry.
So what do we got to close things out for our hot takes for the season?
Jeez.
Someone just
Come on,
let's
Brandon.
flash Charlotte up there. Let's talk about Charlotte.
Gio
my
just
hot-
left.
Yep.
I have
He's
no
avoiding
hot-
it.
Yeah, no hot takes.
Uh-huh.
Charlotte Independence is a huge wild card. If they're healthy enough, they're going to rain goals over the entire league and they're going to win it all.
All right. Brandon?
My hot take is that one Knox will be able to make it through the entire season without saying East Ridge.
It would have been more of a hot take if you said that they stayed out of
They
Lexington's
could
mentions.
make what? Instead of
It
like
would have been
DMs. That's not going to happen, man.
no, just the mentions,
Oh, that's not going to
to
happen.
anybody
That's
from
not-
Knoxville.
that would be a waste of my time.
It's
That would
true.
be-
It just won't.
yeah.
It just won't.
I can't. Yeah,
They're
I-
99% of our engagement. Gio.
I think that my actual hot take, is that one Knox will not only be a playoff team, but I think they'll be towards the top. And I think that Jake Keegan, I'm going to put it out there again like last year. I think that Jake Keegan will do a lot more than people think he's going to do. I don't think he's going there to retire.
Does he score a hat trick against Madison?
I'm not putting that out there this year again. Yeah, sorry.
He'll just do it against
that far.
Lexington. He'll just do it against Lexington.
Whoa.
Oh,
Look,
Find
you're
out on
working
the
hard for
18th.
that signed jersey.
Yeah, we'll find out on the 18th.
Gio just wants a Keegan jersey. He doesn't
That's-
actually
yeah.
believe that.
I just want to hug. I miss him. My hot take. Omaha's going to struggle, and Jay Mims is going to have to come back to save the day.
Ooh,
Come out
that
on
is
top.
a hot take.
Whatever they change, as old USL Championship players in League One, it's not going to work. Experiment's not going to work, and Mims is going to come back. They're going to put their differences aside, whatever happened, come back and save them, and barely make the playoffs.
Mims is out there like on a park bench, like Captain America, like thinking about never coming back.
Yeah,
Finally relaxing.
You
he has
like,
a trophy sitting next to him.
and they're like, no,
No,
He's
I
just
don't
whispering to
think so.
himself, no, I don't think I will.
I don't think I will.
Oh, man. All right. Hot take. Lexington's going to make the playoffs, and they're going to come ahead in the series against Knoxville. Like we faced them 3 times, so I say we at least get 2 out of the 3 where we handle business. Had to dig it, Knoxville fans.
That's a warm.
So
take.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but I really hope, just for the sake of like I'm high on one Knox, but there is something that Tyler is holding on to that I honestly I hope one Knox loses just for at least the first game, just so I can see it.
Yeah,
It can
gotta wait.
only happen with the first game, so
Yes, it's in the drafts.
it's
and
sitting there.
It's
And I'm-
just ready. It's
hopeful.
pure gold.
Yeah, keep your eyes out, y'all. If you see one Knox lose, go directly to Tyler's Twitter page immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we all 3 of us press send together? Send
Yes.
We'll be there. We'll be there together.
Yeah.
We
The
literally
3 of
get it.
us are going.
It's true. We'll be
That
side
would
by
be
side,
amazing.
so we just do it as one,
Yes.
and then we celebrate on the field.
Mhm.
Yeah. Green's got to stick together.
I just want everybody to have fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna wear a green jersey, but that's just because that's the jerseys I have.
I'm gonna wear my blue one just to be different.
Yeah.
Blue Triumph jersey just to be different.
Or we can match.
You can match. See, there you go. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. I feel like we've covered all we can cover. Hopefully, everybody stuck with us.
And
That was a
half the
long
time.
one. Yeah, it wasn't a 5-hour show, so sorry to disappoint anybody who was looking
This
for that.
is part 1. Part 2 is right now.
Yeah.
We take an hour with each team.
Yes.
So now
Break
it's a
down
deep
every
dive.
player.
Deep
Yes.
dive.
We're going to talk about
Exciting.
which cleats they like best, their favorite restaurants, who their nemesis is in the league. It's going to be everything. No, but it's been fun, guys. Alex, Brandon, thanks for joining us.
Yep,
Like me and
thanks for having
Gio,
me.
I know we're normally on here, but it was fun having you guys on here for some different voices, different opinions, and everybody out there that's listening. If you don't follow these guys in some way, shape, or form, do so. Everybody's doing great work. Everybody has some good takes. Sorry guys. Kaylor's in the background, but it's been fun. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. This and every episode is brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Find podcasts and other written work at bgn.fm. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again next week.